A very good evening and a very warm welcome to Buddhist Mahavira's Facebook page. We are going live this evening at our Dhammadana series. And this evening we have Bante P. Vinita Tero, who will actually be conducting the part 3 or the final part of the study of the Muni Sutta, which we have been doing over the last two weekends. And today will be the last part of the Muni Sutta. I would like to apologize to all our viewers for starting late because Bante had another online Dhamma discussion, and that finished I think about 8:45 Malaysian time. So we had to give Bante a little bit of rest, and Bante is now joining us. I would like to invite Bante to join us in the studio.
Sukhi
Good evening,
Hotu.
good evening,
Good
Bante.
evening.
Okay, without wasting much time, let me just introduce Bante quickly to the audience, and then we can start with the last part of the Muni Sutta. Bante Vinita Thera was a young monk when he was ordained in Sri Lanka. He received his higher ordination in 2007. He is currently the resident bhikkhu at the Tiratana Lumbini Garden in Puchong, in Malaysia, and also the principal of its Sunday Dhamma school. Bante had a first class honours Bachelor's of Arts in English degree from the Buddhist and Pali University of Sri Lanka. He had also just completed a Master's of Education teaching English as a second language from HELP University here in Malaysia. Bante is currently lecturing at the Nagananda Institute of Buddhist Studies at Kelaniya in Sri Lanka currently. So without much ado, I would like to invite Bante to start this evening's Dhamma sharing on the Muni Sutta and the last part of the Muni Sutta. Bante?
Again, good evening to all of you, brothers and sisters in Dhamma. To start the Dhamma talk today, let us recite Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa all together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Brothers and sisters in Dhamma, very good afternoon to you again. So I am sorry for being late to start. Actually, I had the Dhamma talk today with International Medical University students in Malaysia. So I know when they ask the questions, we have to spend much time to satisfy them in answering. Because of that, I took little bit time. However, it's a great pleasure at all the time to share the Dhamma knowledge and enlighten you all in the teachings of the Blessed One. Today the topic, the same topic remains last week and also the week before last week. Muni Sutta discourses on the sages, which is mentioned in Kuddaka Nikaya of Sutta Pitaka. Kuddaka Nikaya has several texts by different names. Sutta Nipata is one of Then Sutta Nipata also consists of several chapters. Their first chapter is Uraga chapter, the chapters on the serpents. Chapters on the serpents means the first discourse in this section is the Uraga Sutta. Uraga Sutta means the discourses on the serpents. Because of that, in the list as it mentioned, the chapter is also known as the chapters of serpents. There, the last discourse is the Muni Sutta. The last discourse in this section is Muni Sutta, the discourse on the sages. As I told you last week when I concluded the session, the term Muni can be used for ascetics or mendicants who left the houses and practices something moral according to their beliefs and minds to be free from this suffering in this world. So the term Muni cannot be used for the religious leaders who attach the household life or for all the religious leaders in this world from different religions also. We cannot use this term. This can only be used for the ascetics who left the household life and live as a monk and practices something good, something moral, something wholesome, something positive to end up this suffering in this life, in this sansaric circle. Therefore, the term can be used, the term Muni can be used for all the Buddhas. It can be used for the individual Buddhas. And also it can be used for the Arahants as well as non-Arahant monks who wish to attain Buddhahood or Pacceka Buddhahood or Arahantship in the future. As it was used by different religious leaders in India in ancient time, as the person who knows the real meaning of the term Muni, the Buddha explained the reality of a life of a Muni. Because of the meaning, the term deals with really to introduce the Buddhas, to introduce the Pacceka Buddhas or the individual Buddhas and Arahants and those who wish to attain the Buddhahood or individual Buddhahood or Arahantship in the future. However, the discourse, just I want to remind you, it remains the 15 verses. It remains the 15 verses for the entire sutta. as it has 15 suttas, we had to divide it into 3 parts and deliver the talk under 3 sessions, because just we can go roughly throughout the story and say something and let you study, but preaching the sutta or discussion on the sutta or Dhamma talk on sutta should bring the real factors in the sutta. That means the inclusion. What is the context? So you need to know and we have to enlighten. So that was our great purpose, to divide this into 3 sessions and support you to keep in memory for the practice in the life, and if you wish to be a Muni in the future in order to attain the Nibbana. I told you at the first session, to attain the Nibbana, everyone has to complete the Nekkhamma perfection, Nekkhamma Paramita. Nekkhamma means the live in household life and practice the life as a monk. Whoever need to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana, brothers and sisters in Dhamma, please remember, in the sansaric life, you need to practice a life of a monk or nun definitely. That's a part of the requirements to be completed to attain the Nibbana. So, everyone needs to practice, everyone has to practice, and also before the practice, it's better to enlighten your mind about the real picture of the term Muni and the real characteristics. Let me continue the third session with you from the 11th verses today. From the 11th verses today. So it starts like this. Yadagato majjato sesato va pindang labate paradantu pajivi nalan tutum no pinipachavadi thanvapi dhira munivedayanti yadagato manjato sesato va pindang labate paradantu pajivi nalan tutum nopini pachavadi tanvapi dhira munivedayanti. That was the 11th verses. Today we begin this talk in explaining this verse. Brothers and sisters in Dhamma, it was a nice meaning, nice stanza which introduces a clear and meaningful reality about life of a sage or muni. You know, yadagato majjato sesatova. What is yadagato? What is majjato? What is sesato? Yadagato means the first part of the food. For example, you think you prepared your lunch or breakfast, just finish the preparation. but you didn't test, you didn't taste, you didn't eat yet, just completed the preparation. After the completing of the food, the first portion is there. You haven't tasted yet. That is the first category. Secondly, you have prepared for the first time, you have tasted or have eaten. Now you have the middle part of the food. You remain the middle part of the food. That is the second category. Thirdly, you see the last portion of the food after you ate and also you donated someone. Now maybe you have given to even animals. Now you remain the last part. Whether it is first or second or third part of the food, whether the portion of the food, first portion, it can be second portion or last portion. When the monks come to your house, you offer. When the monks come to your house, you offer. When you offer, after monks' arrival to your house, as the pinda path to the monks, when they go house to house for the meal, maybe in the breakfast, maybe during the lunchtime, you don't consider this is the first part of the food, this is the second portion or last portion. Whatever you have, you offer to the monks, because the monks are coming house to house to have the meal or going for Pindapata without invitation. You don't know early. They don't inform early. Whatever you give, whether it is the first portion, second portion or last portion, they receive and depend on what you have offered. They depend on what you have offered. Because of that, they are known as Paradattupajivi. They live because of others. When others offer the food, maybe it can be the first portion, second portion or last portion. They never consider whether it is the first, second or third. Whatever you offer, they accept, and they need to eat that. Having received in this way the food, they depend on that. From whatever portion you offer, they are not appropriate to thank you. They are not appropriate to tell unpleasant words to you. Either they don't neither they thank you nor speak the pleasant words. They don't thank you saying that, okay, brother and sister, you offered dana to me, whether it is the first, second, or third portion of your food. Thank you so much. They don't talk. They don't thank because they are going for Pindapata. When the monks when they are going for Pindapata from house to house, they are silent. They don't speak any words. They don't speak any words because they are silent. That is the custom of the monks. And also, whether the food, whether it is the first, second, or third portion, maybe it can be third, it can be last, it can be second. They don't say any unpleasant words to you. You offered me the third portion, you offered me the old food or whatever, so you are bad. In this way, they don't tell anything. So if you meet someone like that, a monk, the Buddha says that person, that intelligent monk is called a Muni. To such kind of monks, to such kind of people, we call Muni, the sage, because the tradition or the customs or the characteristics of the Muni, when they go to house for meals, for Pindapata, breakfast or lunch, they don't appreciate or don't criticize, don't condemn what you offer. That is what the Buddha explained from the 11th stanza. So it's a great meaning because when you invited monks to come to your house, you offer everything, first portion, you prepare them well, but when they travel or when they go house to house for Pindapata, they don't inform, they don't invite you to offer. Whatever you have, whether the part of the food is first, second, or last, you offer, they are silently accept. They don't thank you in words and also they don't criticize your offering. Therefore, if someone has a great characteristic like this, if someone sees a great characteristics like this, that person is called a Muni, a great monk, a great sage, a great hermit. So, let me move to the next verses. It says like this. Munin charantang viratang metu nasma yoyobbane nop nipanjate kvaci madapamada viratang vipamutang Thangvapi dira munivedayanti. Again, I will recite. Munin charantang viratang metu nasma yoyobbenenop nipanjate Kvache madampamada viratang vippamuttang tanvapidira munivedayanti. Brothers and sisters in Dhamma, you may see three important characteristics of a sage. From this stanza, it is the 12th in the line. So munin charamtang viratam metu nasma. That is the first. The munis, the monks, the ascetics, the mendicants, they totally abstain from coupling or sexual conducting. They are not going to satisfy sexual desires. They do not associate any woman or man with the sense of having the satisfaction of sexual desire. So they abstain from coupling. They abstain from sexual conducting. That is a great characteristic of a monk. Even in youth life, even in youth, their youth is not entangled anywhere with sexual conduct. They are totally try to be free from sexual conducting. As lay people, the Buddha says, Kami sumichachara veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami. Between the husband and wife, lay people can have such kind of a relationship. That's legal. But the relationship should be husband and wife, not others. If someone has such kind of a relationship with others, that's illegal. So, for the monks, no husband. For the nuns, no wife or husband. For the nuns, no husband. For the monks, no wives. So, there is no legal relationship to have such kind of things. On the other hand, so they avoid that practices also, legal practices also. That's why they left the household life and said goodbye to household life, because they need to abstain from sexual conducting or coupling at all the time. Maybe in their young life or after the young life also, whenever the sexual desires arises, they don't entangle their feelings with the sexual desires anywhere. Because of this great practice, they are different from others. That's the characteristics of monks, munis. And also they abstain from the drunkenness. Some people take much alcohol, much intoxications. The monks are abstaining from that practices as well. And also they are lack of heedlessness. They are lack of heedlessness. They are fully freed from these three types of characteristics that the laymen own. As a result of that, they are indeed wise and also known as the sage. You know, some lay people are like that. They are practicing the same thing Then what people say, that person is just like a monk because they absorb the characteristics of a monk. And 13th stanza. Anyaya lokan paramatta dassin ඕඝන් සමුද්දං අතීතරියතාදින් තන් ජිගන්න ඝන්තං අසිතං අනාසවන් තන්වාපි දීරා මුනිවේදයන්ති. Again, අඤ්ඤාය ලෝකං පරමත්ත දස්සින් ඕඝං සමුද්දං අතීතරිය නතාදින් තංචින්න ඝන්තං අසිතං අනාසවන් තන්වාපි දීරා මුනිවේදයන්ති. In this way they see the Anyaya Lokam Paramang Attam Dassin. They know the world, the nature of the world, reality of the world. The world is full of the suffering. So they see in this way. And they see the highest goal. If they need to be free from the suffering, so what is the highest goal that they have to achieve? They see the highest goal as the Nibbana. So they understand the world is full of suffering. That is why they do not attach to household life and they see the final liberation, Nibbana, as the highest goal to achieve. With this fully understanding, Ogam Samuddham Attariyatadi, they cross the floods, they cross over the floods, the ocean of the suffering. What are the floods? What are the floods that a monk or someone has to cross over to attain the Nibbana? In Sangyutta Nikaya, there is a discourse called the Ogatarana Sutta. In Sagatha Vagga, Ogatarana Sutta is the discourses on the oceans or the floods. Kamoga, the Buddha says the sensual pleasure, including the sexual pleasure, as a flood that destroys the life of a human being. Then the Dittoga, when people absorb different types of view, it also a barrier, a flood. Bhavoga, having the births as well, a flood. In this way, there are 4 types of the floods in Ogatarana Sutta, in Sangyutta Nikaya, Sagatha Vagga. So they understand these troubles, these barriers as the floods, and they try to cross over these. They consider these floods as the oceans as well. So why they understand these things as the floods? Because when someone is caught by a flood, that person is in a difficulty definitely. Having understood the world nature in this sense, that person cuts down knots, all the troubles, and they try to unattach everything and influx free. Because of these characteristics, he is known as a wise person, so he is called a sage or Muni. The 14th one also explains a great idea about the life of a Muni. Asama ubodhura vihara vuttino gihidara posi amamo Subbato Parapanerodhaya Gihi Asanyato Nichang Muni Rakati Panine Ato. I'll recite again. Asama Ubodura Vihara Uttino Gihidara Posi Amamocha Sumbato Parapanerodhaya Gihi Asanya Santo Nichang Muni Rakati Panine Ato. It's also offers a great idea about the life of a Muni. So, there are two persons called a lay person and a monk. The lay person who practices the indigenous life maybe kill the animals and sell the animals and feed the children and wife or children and husband. Some people call that's a moral practice. And also the person who has the above characteristics as a monk, when these two are compared together, both are different from each other. The lay person, by the way of the words, by the way of the body, by the way of the thinking, they are not controlled. But in case of these three doors, by the way of the speech, by the way of the body, and by the way of the thinking styles, especially the monk is different from them because the monk does not kill any living being to feed anyone. They protect the lives of the living beings. Therefore, because of this great characteristic, they are called a monk, a muni. The last verses, Siki yata nila givo vihangamo hansasano peti javan kudachanan. Evan gihinanu karoti bhikkuno munino vivittas vanam hijayatoti. Again, Siki yata nila givo vihangamo hansasano peti javan kudachanan. Evan gihinanu karoti bhikkuno munino vivittas vanam hijayatoti. You know the peacock. The peacock cannot come to run with another swan. The peacock, the blue-naked peacock. This is an example. The naked peacock can fly through the sky. The naked peacock can fly through the sky, but a swan has no time, or at any time a swan does not fly in that way. In the same manner, a householder will never match a monk. A monk's life is never matched to a life of a householder. So, two different lifestyles. The householders, just like the blue naked peacock, they go fast, they fly through the sky, but the swan in the tank cannot fly. So the monks are just like the swan because they are in seclusion. They are in seclusion. A tank, a lake is a separate one from the other places. A swan can live in the lake only. In the same manner, a monk can live in seclusion, meditate in the forest. Not like just like the lay people. Lay people, household people, they can fly everywhere, just like the blue naked peacock which flies through the sky at every time. So the totally different from lifestyle. If you understand someone who is in the seclusion or in solitude, meditating in the forest, that one is called Muni. So in this way, brothers and sisters, you understand the meanings of the next last 5 verses of the Muni Sutta. That was the last stanza of the Muni Sutta. So you can understand in this way the different types of the characteristics of a monk in a life. In a life, a monks or a monk or monks contain these types of the characteristics. They are totally different from the household life. They appreciate living in solitude, seclusion. So I think, hope you all understand. In this way, we can see the Muni Sutta explains the different spiritual characteristics of a monk. If someone has such kind of characteristics, that person is known as a Muni. If you have questions, I would like to answer also. Now you can apply those three characteristics to the life of the Buddha, to the life of the individual Buddhas, Arahants, and also the other monks as well. Maybe at present time you will think these characteristics, some are not in the monk's life, they are living in urban areas or somewhere, but you see, at least some of them are there, they can be known as the monks. Not all should contain, but at least few. Okay, I'm ready for questions.
Thank you, Bante. Thank you for the excellent sharing. There are no questions, but I had one question, but you stole that question from me. Because my question was basically now, after going through all the 15 stanzas, it basically shows that a monk or a holy person who is totally secluded or away from society and practicing the precepts accordingly will actually be a real Muni. So, as far as those monks or sages or spiritual people who are in a urban environment, it makes it more difficult for them to be actually practicing to be a spiritual person, because you are in a way connected to urban life.
Actually,
Yeah.
in this regard, Aya, the best thing is to practice the monk's life without going for sexual desire or sensual desire or anything. Monks should have the characteristics of traveling. The Buddha said, Charata Bhikkhave Charikam Bahujana Hitaya Bahujana Sukhaya, but their permanent residence should be in the forest or somewhere which is free from the lay people, not crowded with the lay people. The temple, that is why to create at least that separate nature, we build the temples little bit far away from the village, or if not, we separate the lay people from the temple ground and let them be alone at the temple. So such kind of things can be done.
Yeah, I guess we can't have everything 100% according to how we want it. I guess the monks and the lay people have to uh, know their boundaries, their limitations, and practice
Yeah,
accordingly. I think that's the
yeah.
best thing. I'm looking for questions, but there are no questions at the moment. Oh, there is one question.
All the monks supposed to teach the Dhamma to devotees? Yes, all the monks should teach the Dhamma to the devotees, but it depends on their understanding. Some monks cannot preach; they don't have preaching skills, they don't have speaking skills, but they have the writing skills. Though, because using of the writing skills, they write the books in Dhamma. That is also a certain kind of preaching. Mm, At least when Venerable Sariputta as a layperson met Venerable Assaji, what he said only for one or two or three or few words, one stanza, and he asked to go and ask from the Buddha. At least the monks can uh, create the path for the people to go for a good Dhamma practitioner and Dhamma preacher and listen to their talks. That is also certain kind of guiding in Dhamma. That way they can make the possibilities. All the monks are support, but it depends on their ability. The Buddha also did not emphasize anyone. They don't influence anyone to you all must preach, but there were some monks who did not preach at the time of the Buddha as well.
I hope Bhante had managed to answer Brother David's question. Um, so I guess we've come to almost the end of this evening's Dhamma sharing.
Mm,
Bhante, you must be tired after two Dhamma sharings in one day.
of
in addition,
course.
in addition to your university work. So I think
No, yes.
shall we conduct the Anumodana, Bhante?
Okay, okay. By the power of these merits, may all the brothers and sisters who is sponsored for this Dhamma talk be well and happy. May they be free from suffering. May they be able to attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. And also, by the power of these merits, especially our Buddhist Mahavihara and Chief Reverend and Mahasangha Management Committee, Brother Leslie, Brother Sirsen and others and devotees, may they be well and happy. May they be free from suffering. May all the deities receive these merits. May they bless you and may they be able to attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. May all the beings be able to understand the supreme teachings of the Buddha and attain the supreme bliss of the Nibbana. May all the worlds, all the beings be free from COVID-19 and may all the beings have a happy life. ආකාසට්ටා ච බුම්මට්ටා දේවා නාග මහින්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරන් රැක්කන්තු ලෝක සාසනං ආකාසට්ටා ච බුම්මට්ටා දේවා නාග මහින්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරන් රැක්කන්තු දේශනං ආකාසට්ටා ච බුම්මට්ටා දේවා නාග මහින්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරන් රැක්කන්තු මං පරන්ති අභිවාදන සීලස්ස නිච්ඡං උද්දාපචායිනෝ චත්තාරෝ ධම්මා වඩ්ඩන්තේ ආයුවන්නෝ සුඛං බලං ආයුරාෝග්‍ය සම්පත්තේ සග්ග සම්පatti මේ වච අතෝ නිබ්බාන සම්පත්තේ ඉමිනාතේ සමෙජ්ජතු. May all the beings be well and happy. May the triple gem bless you. Good night to everyone.
Thank you, Bante. Thank you so much for sharing the Dhamma with us. So before we end, we'd like to take this opportunity to thank Bante Vinita for taking time off to be with us this is Friday evening, and also to all our sponsors this evening, and to all our viewers who are with us listening to the Muni Sutta. I hope all of you had now understood the Muni Sutta, now that we discussed it in length over 3 weeks. And this Sunday, we have another very learned speaker, Bante Professor Dr. L. Srinivasa Thero. Bante will be talking on the subject called the present decides the future. Now, this is based on the Kukuravatika Sutta from the Majjhima Nikaya, and hope you will join us this Sunday at 8:30 p.m. on the Dhammadana series. With that, we've come to the end of this evening Dhamma sharing. Have a pleasant evening, one and all. Sadhu. Thank you, Bante.
Thank you, Ayya.